Hey there guys, Mike here with the ZMAM show, as I want to give you my quick initial thoughts over The Hot Zone, which is the National Geographic Presents mini-series that I think it had 6 episodes and takes place over the late 70s into the 80s. And I just want to talk to you a little bit about my initial, like I said, thoughts about this show and if it held up to expectations, because I could not help as soon as I saw the show was coming up, I immediately thought of the movie Outbreak, which I believe was in the 90s. It starred Dustin Hoffman and some other great actors, and Kevin Spacey was in there as well. But I was hoping for that intensity, when that Ebola, when it affects you, that it just there's no turning back. You are totally hosed, and it's a race against time, and we're talking no cure. So again, and although it was a little cheesy in some areas of that movie, I mean overall the movie was pretty dang legit, and it was really it left an impression on me as a child. So I was hoping that this show was going to do the same. But I have to admit, guys, that this show really did not do that for me. I mean, from the beginning, as it starts off, they hit you with a kind of a Shazam. I mean, it wastes no time getting straight into it. This guy, he's overseas, I think somewhere in Africa and around the Congo area, in fact. He basically boards a plane. He's showing hives and bumps all over his body, and basically it's super cringeworthy, and he starts to vomit. He has to get a bag, and then the flight attendant lady's carrying the bag back and trying to dispose of it. I mean, things are getting crazy. Next thing you know, he's in a hospital. They had to land emergency somewhere down in Africa. He ends up accidentally basically coughing up and spilling up all over this doctor. I think his name is Musoki, something like that, and basically infects him. And as things kind of move straight forward, basically they get Musoki's blood and they're able to get a sample of that, finding out that it's that Zaire Ebola, basically, and that it's obviously super dangerous. They kind of came up for a while and then it died off, and then basically they didn't see anything about it, and that was around the year 1980. And then it just jets forward straight into 9 years later, and you're following this Dr. Nancy Jax, which is played by the talented Juliana Margulies. Although I do like her as an actress, I'm telling you, I can't always get into her characters. She almost feels like a too I'm going to do good and I'm going to get this done and there's nothing going to stop me. Kind of, I don't know. It just, the intensity I felt at times it was lacking in this show. I don't know if any of you had a chance to see it. I'd love to hear your comments if you did watch it, what you thought of on the first 2 episodes. But I'll admit, I think by the second episode, it was late when I was watching it, I'll admit, but I was kind of half falling asleep. And I ended up having to finish it the next day. Then I took a day or 2 off because I was busy. And then I finally ended up just binging the last, 3 to 4 episodes. So they kind of tie into her family in the beginning, and her husband, which is also, he's a colonel, and his name's Colonel Jerry Jax. He's played by, Noah Emmerich. And so, you got these 2 powerhouse characters and they're moving in, but the main story is basically based around Dr. Nancy Jax. And basically, by chance, a strain of this Ebola basically makes it up into the U.S., and it kind of shows that progression of how they're trying to find out and all the backlash and all the barriers they meet as they're trying to get into this monkey facility and trying to get the information. Again, I don't want to spoil the whole show for you. I mean, it's based on real events, but hey, going back to that. And that's another reason I think why I found it so hard to get into this show, because I just finished Chernobyl, and for all my fans out there who actually watched my reviews, thank you so much again for joining in and all those awesome comments. Please also comment on this if you did watch it and if you were really able to get into this. I know a few of you said you were. It's not that I didn't enjoy this, guys. I did enjoy it overall. I mean, the backdrops, the scenery, the cinematography, it felt very early 2000s kind of shows like ER and some of those. I felt the scenes were very set up like that. Not set up like that true cinema feel, like you're watching almost like a movie or something as the events are unfolding and that intensity is building. There were other characters like Topher Grace, who plays Peter, I think it's Jarling, one of the two. And so he's another a doctor who's working at the US AMRID. And then he has another co-worker who's played by Paul James, and his name's Ben. And these two, something happens to them, and they kind of get entwined with this whole thing, and they're trying to keep things secret. And again, I just really was never really feeling the super like the super gritty, like, oh my gosh, we are in deep stuff. I mean, there were moments, but that intensity did not keep. Okay, again, it almost felt like there was kind of some of that filler built in. They did a lot of flashbacks between the 80s and then going back to Africa, where basically now there was a couple of great characters that I wanted to quickly mention too. Was Liam Cunningham, which you'll know him as Sir Davos from Game of Thrones, and he's played in a ton of other roles. So he's a really great actor, obviously, and so he did the show a really good justice by being in it, and it basically shows him going down there with I think it's James D'Arcy, and he plays a character named Trevor. And anyways, those two are down there basically when I think the first Ebola sightings were going on, and so they're kind of going village to village. They're trying to find out the source, if they can fix it, and of course they meet their own barriers. So again, I think the show did some solid justice to trying to form up, the chain of events and how things were going on and why the trust wasn't there between the CDC and also US AMRID, because they're kind of two competing powerhouses when it comes to diseases and disease control. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I did not feel that powerhouse Chernobyl style, which I hate to compare it to because it's two different shows. But I feel if directed and maybe filmed a different way, this show could have been a lot more intense. And maybe if they also would have embellished on some facts, because again, it's based on a true story. Doesn't mean you can't twist it some. I mean, it's cinema. It's for TV, right? So anyways, if you want to know my score overall, I was really going back between a 7 and a 7.5. I mean, so I guess if you're just using a single point scale, I'd just say a 7 out of 10. I might give it just a little bit of more oomph because, again, they did have a pretty solid cast. But some of the things that, like I said, happened throughout the show were just kind of goofy. And again, the intensity just didn't keep me enthralled during that entire time. So those are my initial thoughts on the show. I'd love to hear what you all thought about it. And if you just, couldn't stop watching and just wanted more, or if pretty much you're like, please, let's just get through this so I can get on to the next series. I would really like to know. So with that said, guys, yes, that is my thoughts on The Hot Zone. That's 2019, presented by National Geographic, and 6-episode miniseries. So go ahead and check it out if you have the channel. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I'm always loving to see those newcomers coming in and all the comments. I love to talk about cinema and what you guys enjoy and why you thought something was great or not great for that matter. I just released a Star Wars kind of news piece that had about 3 or 4 cool facts for the upcoming movie coming in December. Also check out Chernobyl if you have not had a chance. That show is phenomenal. And then plus go out then and check out my reviews afterwards if you want to get the recap if you missed any of the details. We did some research. There's a lot of great fans and people from Europe that were making comments, giving in extra details for the Chernobyl event, so it's definitely worth checking out. With that said, I am Mike Schilling with the ZMAM Show, and I will catch you at the next movie review. See ya.